The recording has begun. Good evening, everyone. This is Natasha Cohn and myself, Carl Wilder, for Expat Radio, with one of my favorite people, Nojan Jamali. He has been making documentaries and talking to people all over Europe about the immigrant and the expat experience. I was a part of one of these, and my clips went pretty damn viral. So we're going to be talking to him today, and I think it's going to be a rollicking and entertaining show.
Well, good evening, Carl, and good evening, Nojan. It is lovely to have you on the show. From sunny London, believe it or not.
From sunny London, I'm actually quite surprised too. I landed here yesterday from Barcelona. The Christmas season has started, so I'm here to see my family. And I was expecting a lot of cold, but I actually landed from the airport. It was okay, and the sun is shining today.
Oh, you're in London as well today?
No, in Berlin.
I came to Berlin. Oh, okay.
Oh, there's sun in Berlin.
The sun in Berlin is shining, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, every time we seem to record this show, we have cold and rain in Seville. So I have given myself a black and white London scene from 1938. So I'm talking to you, or from, I'm sorry, Paris, 1938. So I'm talking to you from 1938 Paris.
Well,
Great.
Actually, you're talking to us, both of us being in the sun, and you're talking to us from Seville, the warm country in the rain.
Every Friday we have cold and rain. I don't understand why it hits on Fridays.
Where are you right now, Carl?
I'm sorry?
Where are you right now, Carl?
I am in Seville, Spain.
Wow. Wow. What are you doing there?
I am setting up a new branch of the Chef Tours, the company that I founded back in May. And we're doing wine and food tours here in Seville, which are going very well. I have, my first 3 tours gave me 3 5-star reviews, and everybody mentions this guy. Can we see him? Yeah.
Oh, Milu will, of course.
Milu, he comes on all the tours, and the guests adore him.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
So, Nojan, I know that my clip was the first one to go viral, and it went incredibly viral. I had about a year of people stopping me on the street. Which other clips went viral, and what do you think were the reasons for them being so incredibly popular?
Great question that you asked. I very vividly remember the day when this video went viral, because I've been posting the videos and I've been uploading clips. I wasn't expecting such a big audience since it's very niche topics. And then one day I was in my bed. It was around 6, 7 p.m. and I started looking at TikTok. Things were popping up. Video got shared, much more videos. 2 hours later, the same thing happened on Instagram. A few moments later, a few days later, we were on 2 million views. Nowadays, this video on Instagram has 9 million views. And that's a viral video. I think a big part of Germany has seen this.
Well done, both of you.
Yeah. Thank you. And I was thinking, what was the reason? I was also asked by others, what was the reason that you think this video went viral? And there were a few things that were coming to my mind. One, to state the very obvious, your voice was the first thing. I think if you have such a captivating voice, you are more willing to listen. You have a powerful voice, Carl. I think you know that. But that's just the one minor aspect. I think what really plays into that, and I told you one time, is how you line up the story. You do it in a very organic way that you really want to continue listening, because to start with an opening statement. Because you didn't just have one viral video, there were a few viral videos of you on other topics as well, with, I don't know, 3 million views or 500,000 views, something like this. So you started with an opening statement. Germans are in a box, and they live in a box, and they like the box. So you're already like, what does he want to tell us? It's a bit of a bold statement, which you then continue to explain, and explain very, very well. So I think the way you brought that message across, the way you speak, combined with your voice, the part, I mean, I think I really also selected a very good part of the clip, the essential part where you really broke down the German culture and analyzed it. Even people from that I know, like my uncle who has lived there for many years, my mother, who are all immigrants in Germany and lived there for a while, told me what a very precise description of the German mentality. So I think it resonated with a lot of people, what you've said. And what I experienced, that topics that resonate with a lot of people, they usually get shared more and reach a much larger audience. And that's something that I also saw with a few of the other videos that went viral or semi-viral. It's something that other foreigners can relate to, usually. I think that's one of the key elements.
So tell me what other videos went viral and semi-viral. I'm interested in what they had to say and how it resonated with people.
Well, a few videos that went viral, because some of the videos went more viral on TikTok, some videos went more viral on Instagram. I still don't understand what makes a video go viral on Instagram or on TikTok. But usually topics that went more viral, something that I generally also saw, that I experienced when having interviews with people from the audience, is the cultural topics, one of them. So if someone speaks about a specific culture and about the people, and often topics that contain some form of criticism. I feel like people do not like to watch the parts about the positive stuff, because you know how my interviews are structured. I also always ask about the positive sides of living in a city. I also ask about the negative sides. I try to balance it out. However, it might seem sometimes that the negatives are overrepresented. I don't think it's because of the way this questionnaire is structured, but it's because of what videos are being shared more. And usually videos that contain some criticism are being shared more. You can see the same with the respondents of the interviewees. So I've done so far, I think, more than 70 interviews, 72, around that ballpark, in different cities, in Berlin and Amsterdam, in Prague, in Barcelona, and Paris now. Still, I'm editing the Paris videos, so for that I still don't have much knowledge how the audience responds to it. But the speaking times, even of the interviewees about the negative stuff, is always much larger. People have 3 times, 4 times as much to say about what they don't like or what's some criticism in there compared to the positive parts. So I think that's something that I maybe learned also more about the human nature, both on the side of the viewers as well as the side of the interviewees. So I feel like topics that contain some criticism, they get more viral because they're being more shared and they resonate to a lot of people. A lot of people come to Germany. They might have it, they have a reason for coming, but oftentimes they realize after a time that some parts they don't like. And if they see some other people speaking about it, they feel like they're being understood. And
Interesting.
I think that is also one factor that I've seen very
So
prominent.
when you go to the positive side of it, and I had some positive things to say, but I don't think
Definitely.
it's viral. What did most of the positive videos have in common? Because I love living in Germany most of the time. Natasha loves living in Germany,
Absolutely.
and we have a lot of positive things to say about it. But overall, what were most people saying positively?
About Germany specifically,
Yeah.
about living here.
Let's start with Germany. We'll go on to others.
Yeah. So when we speak about the people of Germany, people say that in Germany it takes some time. I think you can also say this about many people that are considered, or many countries that are considered a bit more cold in their culture, so that it takes more time to get to know them. But once you get to know a German, you can rely on them, you can trust on them, they become your true friends, you can have deep, meaningful conversations. This is something that is being said positive about Germans in a lot of cases. Obviously, about living in Germany, you have those the economical securities. For example, you have a good social system. You don't necessarily end up being homeless. You have some security in there. So that's some of the very positive parts about living in Germany. Well, when it comes to Berlin, the job market is not necessarily the best, but in other parts of Germany, it might be different. You can find a good place. So I think these are the two biggest ones that really come to my mind right now, that a lot of interviews had in common about Germany and living in Berlin.
Okay, now you've just finished Paris, another place that I've lived, but only for months, not for years. And I j'adore Paris. In many, many ways, my only complaint about Paris is the cost of real estate and the cost of food. Other than that, I could live there in a heartbeat. Tell me a little bit about your Parisian interviews and what people felt about Paris.
I'm very positively surprised about Paris. I mean, there's still a lot of to come about Paris, but I've been myself in Paris 2 times before, once as a kid, once during my student years with a group of students. And also in the internet, I always heard about stereotypes about Parisians, about French people. French people are rude, French people are, no. I even, exactly because of the stereotype, I know, you know, the way I ask my questions, I ask questions in a very open way because I don't want to give someone an answer in advance. I'll never ask them, what do you say about the fact that Germans are this and this? I ask very openly, how would you describe Germans? But for Paris, because of the stereotype, I specifically decided to add another question that is very close, which is, what do you think about that stereotype that French people are rude? And people didn't think that. And also my experience being there, people were very helpful, very friendly. So I don't know where this is coming from.
Well,
about the people. This is about the people side of it. Yes, Natasha.
yes, it's very interesting that you just said this, because I'm French. I'm from Paris, and my sister lives there, and I spent the entire beginning of this week in Paris. And we were talking, my sister and I, who's French, of course, also about French people. And she said the same thing. She said, the people in Paris, I find to be aggressive, self-centered, occasionally rude, she said. And she's French, so she's lived not most of her life, but about a good half in France. And she said, and therefore I always put all French people in the same bath, so to speak. And she said, and then I started traveling within France. And then I realized that actually it was only the Parisians that were like that. The rest of France is incredibly helpful, kind, open, etc., so on and so forth. So it could be twofold, I think, with the Parisians. First, they live in Paris, and therefore they feel some kind of superiority for being Parisians. You know, we live there. And second of all, there's an awful lot of rude tourists that come.
Yes.
And therefore, their initial view when speaking to someone is defensive. It's not actually aggressive, it's defensive, rather than aggressive. They're expecting to be harassed, to be whatever. I think that's what you have to see with Parisians, is they're trying to enjoy their life, and there comes all these tourists that start asking stupid questions, and
Everything that you say, I recognize from both interviews and as well as comments that I'm reading below the video that was published. Those people that were saying that, like in the interviews, that were saying that, yes, it might be possible that Parisians are rude. They all said the disclaimer, but that it's different in the rest of France.
you may have just frozen.
Yeah, you froze, but that's okay. Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got
Okay.
you back.
your video
we got-
froze for a second. It's
Okay.
fine.
Was my voice there?
Yeah.
No, we got the rest of France.
Okay. Exactly. Those interviews told me that in the rest of France is different. If you go to more rural areas, I mean, I think this is something that you can say internationally, that people in rural
Absolutely.
areas are generally a bit more family oriented, less stressful, less hectic, and all of that. But even speaking about larger cities in Paris, more south, any kind of city, could be Lyon, could be Toulouse, could be Marseille, any city that is not Paris, people were saying there this stereotype does not apply at all. And also the tourist thing that you say, that a lot of tourists are there, and that there's some unwritten rules in French. For example, tell me if this is right or not, but for example, the part of saying bonjour, if you meet a person, right?
Forget it.
Well, this might not be common in other cultures where you want to ask for a way and say, hey, I'm sorry, I have a question. Where can I find this place? Whereas in France, you should say first bonjour.
Always,
this is-
always.
This is something that this might trigger some French people, so they first see tourists as rude because of the way they approach them. And now they give this kind of response. Another thing which came out in Paris was about the customer service. For example, that you have this deep-seated sense of equality in France. So the waiter is not here and you as a customer are here. You're trying to speak on the same level. And if you as a customer come in there and expect to be treated as a king or something higher than the waiter is not going to make the effort to accommodate your needs on that.
That's something I love about Paris. I love that everybody.
Me too. I love this concept. Yes.
Yes,
I don't like. I worked as a waiter myself before I was studying all of that. I worked in the Ritz-Carlton hotel. Well, in a hotel. Now I said it, but in a hotel, in a luxurious hotel, and you had customers that were like,
hey
doing
boy,
this.
yes,
I
exactly.
hated that as a waiter because I also would never want to speak like that to a waiter. So I understand where we're coming from. Like we are all humans. We want to be treated as humans. So
Yes,
Yeah.
the idea that the customer is always right definitely does not work in France.
Yeah.
We definitely do not have the idea the customer is always right. And yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, my sister, same sister, I have two, but that one is the same sister in Paris. I'm so sorry. My breakfast is arriving, courtesy of my
Enjoy.
adorable, wonderful husband. So yes, and she's CEO of a company. And as far as she's concerned, everybody's equal. There is no one in her company that is beneath her. It's not a concept. You don't, you don't snap your fingers. And yes, indeed. I mean, even if you go to someone and you say in French, I'm so terribly sorry, I'm a little lost. I was wondering if you could help me get to blank. Their reply will be bonjour. Because no matter how courteous you were, no matter how polite you were, you did not start with the bonjour. And if you walk into a store and you say, hello, I'm so terribly sorry, do you have this in a size 36? She will look at you, or he will look at you and say, bonjour.
Right. And you as the foreigner, as a tourist, might think I was being extra nice to this person. I was saying incredibly sorry and all of these words, and this person treats me like this. So I understand it if you're not aware of this social rule that you get this
Yeah.
impression.
I think I was made aware of that social rule my first trip to Paris. So I know to do that. And I have had incredible experiences in Paris. I have many friends there. I find people to be delightful, charming, but I do know the social rules and I know that it's egalitarian and you don't put on airs. You are
No,
what you are. And everybody is the same. And I love that about France.
yeah,
But
we're all humans.
one of
Yeah.
my early trips there, not my very first, but I think my second, I was horribly lost. And I approached a woman on the street and I knew, bonjour, madame. And then I tried to explain that, I was lost. And she took my arm and she walked me to the metro, which was about 8 blocks away, and gave me a kiss on the cheek. We didn't have much language in common. I had very few words, but she was lovely about taking me where I needed to go so that I could get back to where I needed to be. But you
Yeah,
do have to follow the social convention.
yeah. You do.
I agree. I was also like while I was going around because when I have my interviews, especially in Paris, it's packed within 10 days. So I have to commute all the time.
Ooh.
I needed to ask a lot of people on the streets for helping with directions with the metro and whatever, because I was not very familiar. And I think I barely had any negative interaction. I was asking people from different ages, even older people around 70, 80, and they were so incredibly sweet while giving me directions. Maybe it's because I said bonjour. I don't even
Yeah,
remember if I said it every
It is
time,
because
because
I'm sure you did. You must have
sorry.
greeted them,
yes.
bonjour,
You
bonsoir,
must
something.
have greeted them. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. And
um,
Now,
smile. And
yeah,
smile.
yeah.
always. Now, which
Always.
country would you say, based on what you've learned from people, has the most oppressive bureaucracy?
The most oppressive bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Netherlands, not at all. That falls out. Dutch
Okay.
bureaucracy compared, it's good.
Ooh,
It's
ooh.
easy.
Hello.
Um, hello,
This is
gatito.
this is cozy.
Yeah.
Yes, sweetheart. Mom is doing
Spanish.
an interview.
She wants to join us. Exactly. Um, Spain. Process take a lot of time, but it is very much digitalized. Um, I would say it should be either Germany or the Czech Republic. I think another barrier in Czech Republic is the language. Is that bureaus, bureaucratic offices don't speak English usually, and they also don't have translators there. So if you're a foreigner, obviously you don't speak Czech in the beginning. In most cases, you came there for a job or for whatever other reason, but you learn language while living in a place and a country. But you still need to do your bureaucratic things in the beginning. But there's nobody you can speak to, so you need to bring somebody with you in order to have the bureaucracy handled. But still, I think Czech Republic, I'm not an expert on that, but I get the feeling that it's still a bit more digitalized. Process take a little bit faster. I think Germany is very much behind. I think in Germany, everything is paperwork, everything takes time. Yeah, I think I have to give it to Germany.
When I first moved to Germany, I wrote a letter to Angela Merkel because the address registration was the first thing you deal with, and it made no sense to me. So I
Yeah.
wrote this nice letter, and I said, "I have an idea for you. Why don't you do this? We send in, photograph a copy of our lease. We do this, this, and this. You get all that, and then you send us a postcard, sort of the way Google verifies businesses. We enter the 10-digit code. That's our address because we got the mail there. Why is this such a problem?" I didn't get a letter directly back from her. I got a letter from one of her people saying it's not a problem. As a matter of fact, the system has already been built. It's been built for more than 10 years. You need to think of this as a jobs program. Most of the people who work in our bureaucracy are older females. And if we close down offices and fire them. They will have no jobs, and they will become reliant on the job center for support. So the best way to do this is we will close offices on a case-by-case basis as people retire. You can expect this to begin happening. Now, if you saw what happened when they decided they were going to have the lockdowns, overnight digitization was available. And then some of it is no longer available. They took it down because it's a jobs program.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I remember vividly that you were saying this during the interview. It was very interesting. I think have the clip. I didn't publish this one yet. But yeah, I remember.
Yeah, but it makes sense. I mean,
Totally.
what has happened, I mean, I'm 62 and a half. And what has happened in my lifetime is unbelievable. We have gone from LPs, vinyl records, to online music, going through so many, cassettes, CDs, 8-track, all of these things came and went. We have evolved so much. I mean, films, it used to be Super 8, and then it was videos, and then it was
Super 8 1635, then
yes,
video.
a video, and then DVDs, and it's gone, and we're now everything's online. My daughter had to show us how to use the Spotify in the car. Not because I don't know how to use the Spotify, but because it was on my husband's phone and I didn't know the password. It was her Spotify. But anyway, the point is, it's moving so fast, and I'm only 62. And you can imagine the people who, and I got interested in computers in the early 80s. So I was up to date with computers, practically from the beginning of my adulthood, not the beginning of computers. I'm not that old. But people
1985 was when the internet began with AOL.
Yeah, and I had it before with Digital Equipment Corporation. We had our own World Wide Web within Digital Equipment Corporation, where we could communicate with all digital employees around the world. But if you take somebody who did not follow that course,
yeah,
and who is slightly older than I am, maybe 10 years older, I look at my mother-in-law who just turned 80, and she still has a Nokia, what is it, 1100 or something like that.
The old ones, the unbreakable Nokias.
The unbreakable, she
Exactly.
still uses her. And then we have the other side of the coin, which is my aunt, who's 92, who uses Facebook, who travels all over the world.
Wow.
We have both
92.
sides of the coin. Yeah.
Impressive.
She just came back from Hawaii. I sent the text where she congratulated us on our show to Carl, because she listens to our show. That's how. My Aunt Tanya in Guilford, Connecticut, that is how wonderful she is. But yes, of course, people who are in the 70s would not know.
Well, it depends. My mother was
100%.
ahead of the curve. She was ahead of me. I mean, I still have Victrolas and record players because I love that, the vibrancy of sound from both. But my mother was ahead of the curve. She was on a computer before I was. When I needed computer help, I would have to call her. She had a fax machine first, a computer first. She kept up with absolutely everything until very, very recently. And now, her sight is gone, so she can't use her computer anymore. And, it's changed her life in the past couple of years. But she was the one I would call if I had a problem. I would say, Ma, how do you do this? Oh, honey, that's easy. You go to settings, and then you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. Now, if you go here, you need to slow down, woman. She just got all this information so easily and so intrinsically. and has been ahead of the curve, my whole life.
I
100%.
even know how to use teletext.
For deaf people?
Teletext.
No, teletext. It was before faxes.
I don't even know about teletext.
I know. So
I
there.
saw teletext in a movie with Rosalind Russell called The Front Page.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Well, there we go. You see how old I am? Yes. So that was before faxes.
Yeah, that was before faxes. Faxes came after that. Telegrams, teletext, faxes. Now it's mostly email, unless you're in Germany, where they still like faxes.
Yes.
And what you say, I also recognize completely in my own circle. Like that some people at a specific age who didn't grow up with computers, some people can do it, some people need more time. Our generation, my generation, we all grew up with computers. For us, digitalization wouldn't be a problem working in an office. But for example, my mom's a smart woman, but when it comes to computers, she's 65 years old. I think until a few years ago, I had to explain to her several times how to put an attachment in an email.
Well,
Um,
I'm glad I'm better than that. I've learned a lot, including video editing and a number of other skills on the computer. Things I never thought I would learn, but I have learned them. You know, you can learn at any age. And I'll be learning
Yes.
my next language soon, starting in January.
which one?
Spanish.
Español.
Oh, ok. Entonces luego podemos hablar español porque yo hago lo mismo. I do the same. Maybe there were a lot of mistakes, but this is
I don't
also
care.
my next challenge.
I make mistakes in every language, including English, I'm sure. And it doesn't bother me to make mistakes because the point of language is to communicate. It isn't to be
Exactly.
perfect. If I can be understood and I can understand you, then we're good.
I think that this particular point should be more emphasized, and
100%.
especially for when it comes to German.
Oh, yes.
Especially
Yes.
when it comes to Germany, especially when it comes nowadays. I mean, I'm reading comments on the internet and it's horrible. I mean, I don't know when you want to talk about if you want to talk about the political situation, but I mean,
Yes, sure.
obviously we do like the right-wing movement is getting larger and larger, or at least they show themselves more. And I see videos on the internet where people are trying, they're living in Germany for 2 years, 3 years, and they don't speak perfect German, obviously. But the comments that I'm seeing on those videos are horrible. On the almost every video where you can see a foreigner who doesn't speak in perfect German, always criticism, like go back to your country, go back there. Like you live here for a few years and you don't even speak the language. Ah, come on.
Yeah,
So I'm 100% there with you. So I think if you do the effort, that's important, and everybody has their own speed.
actually, what I find, you see, I'm like you know, I'm French, so French is my first language. English is my third language. I have Croatian between the two of them. That's the second language I learned because my father was Croatian and my grandmother lived with us. So I speak French, English, Croatian, Spanish, and I'm working on German right now. And I find it, when people can only speak one language, we're talking about everybody being, I'm not belittling people who can only speak one language, because in most cases, people who can only speak one language would give their right arm to speak a second one or a third one or anything. You know, they're very sorry they cannot communicate in another language. But those who attack you because you don't speak their language perfectly, I'm reminded of something I saw on Facebook, which dealt exactly with that, which is, you know, why is why can't you speak any better English? And the reply was, we're using English because that's the only language you can understand. You know, I personally can speak several more, but the only one that you get is English. So to criticize someone because they travel, because they open their mind, because they're adventurous, they're, you know, open to changes, it kind of shows what kind of person you are, you
Exactly.
know.
Exactly.
Like I said before, I've lived in, I've lived in so many countries. I don't remember how many it was, 8, 9. I've had, I know I wrote I had 23 different addresses, but then I forgot all the addresses I had in Berlin. So we're up to 26, I think, or something like this. But
God, I haven't even counted. My God.
exactly. But
Oh,
that's what makes us. That's what makes us is the fact that I can make myself understood in almost any country. Now, I don't speak Portuguese, for instance, but when I was screaming and yelling in Spanish and swearing to the taxi driver because he was trying to pull one over us in Brazil, I can assure you he understood my Spanish just fine, even if it wasn't Brazilian. So I can make myself understood. And if you're going somewhere, like I went to Greece, okay, I made the effort. How do you say hello? I was delighted to find out that good morning is Kalimera, because the French have Calimero, which is the name of a character in French, a little black chick with a white bit of shell on his head. And of course, it comes from the Greek. But you make an effort wherever you're going, you make an effort. And the fact that I speak English and German, which covers all the Nordic countries, Croatian, French, Spanish. No, French and Spanish, which cover all the Latin countries, and Croatian, which covers all the Slavic countries,
Yeah.
means that other than Hungary, there aren't that many countries, and Greece, there aren't that many countries in Europe I can't make myself understood in.
Yeah.
And that's what counts.
Nojan, I'd asked you to prepare a few clips of some notable interviews. Do you want to
Yes.
just throw one out there and we'll talk about it afterwards?
For me to know how much time do we have for clips, because I've prepared several, but to get a rough idea,
We still
We can
have
take-
an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah,
an
we've
hour,
got
20
plenty.
minutes.
Don't worry
Okay.
about time.
Okay, then I do have a lot of topics. Which one should I start with?
Start
Look,
with
I've
whatever
prepared
you like.
videos. I will first of all show your viral video.
Okay.
Right?
Good. Yay.
I think that's what everybody would like to see. And I need to share my screen. Let me first open it.
Yeah. While you do the technical stuff, we'll just matter on.
Absolutely.
Well, I think I'm. Oh, what is that? Oh, yeah, you matter on.
Okay. I have to say, when I was in Germany, I thought that Germany was the most dog-friendly country of all the expat countries. But I think Spain is equal to Germany because Milu can go one place with me. He's not allowed in Germany, and that's to the gym.
Oh, no. Really?
He doesn't go on the weight floor, but he goes to the gym and he hangs out in the office with the staff. They play babysitter. They have a little blanket for him. They put on one of the chairs, and he sits on his little chair behind the desk, greets all of the guests as they come in. They adore him. Soon as they met him, they said, "Oh, you can bring him every time you come." So that is a real benefit. I'm probably spoiling him rotten because he never leaves my side down here, but I don't mind doing that. Oh, there we
Aha.
go.
Did it work?
It
You will
worked.
tell me if the technical. Do you see yourself now?
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
Play.
And tell me if the sound also works.
Not well. We need to bolster the level.
Do you hear the voice?
Not
Not
very
well.
well.
We need
Not
Much
well.
more volume.
This is a bit of a problem since my computer doesn't make it
But it
louder.
does have subtitles if you want to
It does
just go
have
with that.
subtitles, but let me try something. Okay, give me 1 second again. Give me
Okay.
1 second again.
In my trademark black turtleneck, I almost wore it today just because I wear that shirt no matter what part of Europe I'm in, somebody stops me on the street. Every single time. It's happened 3 times in Spain, and it used to happen, well, multiple times a day in Berlin when the videos first came out. Up.
The turtleneck. I think here we are.
All right.
Let's see.
If not, we just go with subtitles and don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We are fine with subtitles, but what we're not fine with is dead air.
Okay, let's see.
Okay. So, Nojan, you still figure it out, and I'm going to take the opportunity to remind everyone.
Okay, the sound comes out of my Bluetooth speakers now, so that can be louder.
No, okay.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
Take your opportunity.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I hope it works.
to avoid an infinity mirror, don't share your entire screen or browser window. Share just a tab, a different window. At this time, we don't have that because we have your entire screen. So no,
Right. That's not working at
no,
all.
that's not working at all.
You're showing us the entire screen, which is giving us multiple images of ourselves. I'm not
So
sure that you can hear.
stop presenting.
Let's see if I can. All right.
There's
Well,
not much we can do.
nope. We're just listeners. We're just having a moment here. We're not
Still no
going
sound, right?
anywhere. Stay
No.
with us.
No image, no sound.
Okay,
You
now,
presented your entire screen, which gave us an
for
infinity
some
window.
weird reason, I'm not
ourselves.
hearing you guys.
No, absolutely.
Just run it with subtitles. Don't worry about the sound. But get rid of the infinity screen. You need to present only the video, not the entire screen.
Well, since we have dead air, I will take the opportunity to remind everyone our email address is freerangeexpat. Don't forget that range and expat both starts with an E, so that's 2 E's, freerangeexpat@gmail.com. Please feel free to contact us if you have any question. We also are, of course, on Facebook on Free Range Radio, I believe it is. And we are on YouTube at Free Range Radio Berlin. So please feel free to look at us. You will see all the shows that you have missed, and you are welcome to ask us any questions you would like. We will do our research and answer your questions, naming you if you would like to be named or not, whichever you would like. So freerangeexpat@gmail.com.
All right. Very good. Now I think Nojan has gotten rid of the infinity window, and just go back and present with subtitles if the sound isn't great.
All right, then let's do it like that. Okay, there was something about German culture. Let's see. Let's speak about.
Oh.
Let me find another perspective about German culture.
Another perspective. Go for it. Is Natasha trying to sneak some breakfast?
No, actually, she was looking at her phone, and I was looking at my phone because that's where I put down all the information about our how to reach us. You see.
Okay.
That
I
is
get it.
why I
Yeah.
was looking at my
I
phone.
did have 3 people reach me. Oh, there we go. Maybe we're
There
back.
we go.
All
Very
right.
good.
Here we go. But you still only see the menu, right? Do you see the video now?
I see
No, but
a bunch of videos.
tons of
Okay.
videos.
Tons of videos. Then that's
Yes.
not it.
Okay.
Okay.
Then it wasn't it.
Take your time. Don't worry about
Well,
it.
I think I'm definitely the son of my mom, the way it looks like.
I love
No,
that.
you were doing well the first time. We were doing just fine with just the subtitles.
For some reason, I don't see what I saw before in order to show
Oh,
the
and now
video
you're lost,
itself.
but I'm sure you'll be back.
Mm.
Once I was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I'm free.
How about now?
Right
You've
now.
given us the infinity
Oh,
screen
you did
again.
it.
Now.
Oh, there we go. Now we got it. All right, go
Now
for
we
it.
okay. Now I figured it out.
How would you describe the German culture? German being a little bit distant and those to open up easily to others. But once you scratch that layer, you discover another world, and that's amazing. German culture, being at the beginning very cold, it can be very warm as well and very welcoming, and it's fun.
It'll take a lot of time.
Do you know what Germans value?
Follow the rules. They love to follow the rules. They love to make it noise.
Order, organizing everything. It's good for life.
Well, something that is very true also.
Yeah, very
That you
true.
could
Yes.
hear and see. That was great. Yeah, organization is a big deal.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see Carl there.
Oh yeah.
I have a lot of Carl videos. I've
I approve all
I
the
download
Carl
them
videos.
for this occasion. We want to see more Carl videos.
Yes,
Okay, so
I
let's
do.
speak about mental health in Berlin. Carl.
All right.
How does living here in Berlin impact your mental health?
So we have a lot of people here who do have a lot of issues, but I think those issues were there. They came here thinking the city would cure them. Cities don't cure your mental health issues, nor do they create them. If you're subject to depression, then yeah, getting dark at 4 p.m. can be depressing. If you're not subject to depression, it's dark at 4 p.m. That sucks.
I don't think the city makes it. It doesn't matter if you're not happy inside, you're unhappy everywhere you are. Even you put him or her in heaven, if the person doesn't have the gratitude, there will be no satisfaction. Anyway, but I see a lot of people struggle.
Now
That
that's
is one that even though it didn't go as viral as the others, I had more people want to argue with me about that on the street than any other video. Primarily young women in their 20s who would stop me to say, no, the city makes me depressed. I was not depressed before, maybe a little bit, but not really. So that was hugely controversial in the real world. What were the comments like online?
I agree with you, Carl. I agree with what you said. Yes, if you're depressed, you're depressed. Although, personally speaking, I think that if you're depressed and in a small town, you're probably a lot worse off than in a big city. Well, you actually have more people you can find in big cities.
well.
But
I
then,
also do have sorry.
because of how much I moved, I've adapted and therefore make friends wherever I go. That's the difference, to be fair. Okay.
I also have an opinion about this topic, especially me because my background is psychology. I'm a psychologist. I also practice psychology. I teach also. And so mental health topic is something that I find interesting and important to address. And I want to also see how people feel in different cities. And my gut feeling kind of confirmed itself that I felt like in Berlin, people are more depressed than in other cities. I'm not saying it's the reason. I'm not saying Berlin is the reason for being depressed, but the sample sizes that I've gathered, I've seen significantly more people who reported that they had difficult times, that they went through depression here in Berlin than I had in other cities. And this is something that I saw growing up, and I do think that Berlin has a few factors that makes people that are vulnerable more easily to fall down the loop. It is something that I've realized. You might not agree with this, but this is something I realized when I first moved out of Berlin. I grew up in Berlin, and what you tend to have in Berlin are several factors. One of it is a specific kind of rudeness, the Berliner Schnauze that we have, right? And some people don't get along with this. I remember my cousin moved to Berlin. She's from Cologne, which is a very friendly part of Germany. People are super nice in Cologne. And she couldn't handle it at the beginning, this kind of way of people speaking with each other. And I've heard this from other people who've moved to Berlin, that why are they speaking to me like this? I'm saying this is a way of showing love. But I realized also this this thing when I moved to the Netherlands for my studies for the university, where I've suddenly was with people who were from other parts of Germany with a total different energy, much more energetic than I know people from Berlin. And this obviously impacted myself. And I saw how I myself felt more bubbly being there with this environment, with these kind of people who maybe didn't go through a lot of things that people in Berlin went through, because you also have a specific culture of taking drugs, of drinking a lot of alcohol, doing things very early at a very early age, right? I know a lot of my people from the high school, my friends, or people that were not even my friends that I heard of. A lot of people are taking drugs, harder drugs after school. A lot of things started, and I very much agree that energies, and I'm not speaking about energies in a spiritual way, but like the energy that you have around you also transfers to yourself. If I'm surrounded by people who are constantly positive, it has an impact on me. If I'm surrounded by people who are constantly negative, it has an effect on me. And in Germany, you also have this little bit of the culture of looking at the inadequacies and the things that don't work instead of the things that do work, which you necessarily don't necessarily have in all other cultures. And I think in American culture, you have a lot of a yes culture. Yes, it sounds good. This idea sounds great. You should go for it. Whereas in Germany, it's like, hold on. I see troubles here. I don't think you should do it. So I think it's a combination of factors. Obviously, like you mentioned, also the weather. I think that if you are a little bit unstable and go into the wrong circles, it has more potential. Where I was in Barcelona, almost nobody spoke about anything about depression, even also in Amsterdam less, in Prague less. And in Barcelona, obviously the sun is a contributor to it. But in this particular point, I can definitely see that people talk to you on the street and said, maybe I'm not 100% accord with you on that.
Well, I want to say something.
Yes.
We are not talking about the same city. You're speaking of Berlin, Germany.
Yeah.
I'd like to apologize to all the listeners right now, but of course, I live in Berlin now, and I absolutely adore Berlin. But my Berlin is the Berlin I knew in the 80s. And that's not today's Berlin. My Berlin is when the wall was there, which obviously I'm delighted it's not there anymore. But when the wall was there, Berlin was another city, completely another city. I mean, there was nothing comparable on earth to West Berlin. And so this is the city that I see when I'm in Berlin, West Berlin. And I now project it to the entirety of Berlin, which is not the case, of course, but my Berlin, West Berlin, is the most amazing city in the world where, and so far I'd like to thank every person who's ever been to Berlin in the last 6 years, that they have done nothing to break my belief of that. But my Berlin, West Berlin, was a city with no crime. It was a city where everybody helped each other because we had to, because we were surrounded by walls and we were surrounded by serious hostility, as in people with machine guns. That's pretty hostile. And so my Berlin was the most unbelievably open, friendly, supportive, caring city in the world. And that is the image of Berlin that I have retained after all these years. And even though I travel throughout Berlin, and I love Friedrichshain, and I love Mitte, and I love Prenzlauer Berg, and I love all of East Berlin, I love all of Germany. But when I speak of Berlin, that is my Berlin. And even though I am so much happier now that communism seems to have left, and I'm not terribly happy about fascism arriving at all, but my Berlin is different from your Berlin, Nojan.
Possible, very much
Very
possible.
Berlin.
That's
Very
very much.
different.
Yeah, I can see that.
My Berlin is East Berlin, so
Yes.
I did have you. You reminded me of something, and I guess this can be interpreted either as a positive thing or a negative thing. I found it positive. When I first moved into my apartment, I got a lease on a furnished apartment from my landlord, who had furnished it and then never lived there. So it was this old Bavarian, wood press crap that I couldn't wait to get rid of, but had no money to at the time. And I didn't have a lot for the kitchen, but that was okay. And neighbors started coming by with gifts. They were primarily re-gifts, things that their children, grandchildren had given them that they had no use for. So I got 6 wine glasses from a neighbor. I got a huge coffee maker from a neighbor. You've lost me?
Oh, we've lost you, Carl.
You lost.
All right. I got it.
Yeah, now
Oh,
we
you're
got
back
you
again.
back.
You're back again.
Yeah.
Nojan, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Carl. Nojan, could you close your
Screen sharing,
computer?
obviously.
Yes.
I
yes,
got a
yes, please.
dishwasher
Thank
from
you.
a neighbor,
Nice.
and she came with it. She goes, "My granddaughter got me this for Christmas because she thinks I'm lazy. I'm not lazy, but I know you are from America, where they grow many lazy people, so maybe you will enjoy it." I didn't take that as an insult, because she was right. There's nothing I hate more than doing dishes. So yeah, I'm lazy when it comes to dishes. I accept that. I'm fine with it. I still use and love my dishwasher. It's now 8 years old or something. But people often had comments about the gifts as to why I would use them, and they were superior to me. But I just took that for what it was. They weren't being horrible. They weren't being rude. They were being kind in their way, not yet knowing me. So I made an effort to get to know people. I threw a little coffee party to thank everybody for the gifts, invited them all down for coffee and cake. And I made 3 or 4 cakes. I don't even eat cake. I used the coffee maker, loaded the dishwasher, had some juice in the glasses, and the whole tone went really, really warm, because they could see I was using their gifts and that I did not take in any of the minor insults that came with them.
Well, yeah, I don't think they were insults. The thing about Germans is that they call a spade a spade. They tend to say what they think. And,
Yes, but other people, especially younger people from the US, might look at that and go, "Oh, she was horrible to me. She said I was lazy."
I know.
They were talking
It
about
wasn't meant
overall
like that.
culture. And it wasn't
Yes.
meant like that at all. It's a lot of Germany has to do with your perception. And I guess because I grew up with a German grandmother, and my mother was way more German than she even realized, there's a part of me that realizes that You just have to be patient, and the love will come.
Yes, they do. They tend to hold back a little because they don't know you yet. And once you show them that, yes, you can be trusted, the floodgates open.
Yeah, that's what I've said in the very beginning. They take their time, but once they get to know you, your values,
Yes.
they like you, and they
Yes.
also might show it to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas in Spain, I get hugs and kisses just for showing up.
I'm French.
Especially in the south, right?
Yeah, I'm French. We kiss all the time. I mean, you know, we say hello. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Actually, there's a rule. There's some places where you only kiss twice. There's some places where you kiss 3 times, and there's even places where you kiss 4 times. And that is, you know, people I don't know and friends of friends, and they will say something like, Tosh, this is you know, whatever, Sophie. Oh, hi, Sophie. Mwah, 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 mwah. You know, and so yeah, we kiss.
This is also something that a lot of people mentioned about living in France, how close everything is. Not just how people interact with each other, but you can also see it in a setup of restaurants. The tables are close to each other. You sit next to each other. You can easily strike up a conversation with the person who is sitting next to you, which also happened with me quite a lot of times when I went to restaurants in Paris during my trip. And I think for a German, at the beginning, this might be a little bit, because you have your bubble. I've realized this. I've realized this. I could see people being uncomfortable in public when people are getting too close to them. When my parents' culture, my parents are from Iran. We have the same, like you French. We kiss 3 times always, which can also sometimes cause a confusion, because in Spain, for example, they kiss 2 times, and I always go for the 3rd one. Huh? 3rd one? But yeah, we're also very close, very huggy, and Germany, Scandinavian countries, a lot of other countries as well, they have their bubbles.
Oh yeah, no kissing. Oh, good God.
No. Kissing.
As a matter of fact, I have a wonderful German friend, Henry, and every time we greet, we do both. We shake hands first, you know, the good old German shake hands, like, you know, a good body length apart. And then he remembers I'm French, so he leans over for a couple of kisses, a little bit apprehensive, but it's a very funny little thing we go through every time. He goes, oh yeah, wait, she kisses, doesn't she? Yeah, she's French. So my sister, of course, who knows the same Germans I do, they're more her friends than mine. She doesn't shake hands. She goes straight in there.
Mode is off.
Sorry. That was the Bluetooth speaker speaking.
Oh.
How dare it? So yeah.
I mean, we're live. We don't edit people, so everything that happens is happening in real time.
That's true. Southern, you know, in Croatia, they're also very slap on the back. Hello, how are you? Yeah.
I remember my first visit to Croatia, and I was on a train headed to, I think, Bulgaria. And I had a picnic lunch, and other people had a picnic box as well. And they were talking to me, and I didn't understand a word. But I got what they were saying. They were inviting me to get off the train, and, you know, miming, swimming, and, you know, all of the, you know, all. Oh, am I back?
We've lost you.
Okay. Every time my dog moves his head, he hits the plug-in for the microphone. And he is always so close. Anyway, in Croatia, we didn't have a common language, but I was able to understand what they were asking me. I got off the train with them. We shared our lunches. We went swimming in the lake. We spent a wonderful afternoon. And this family walked me back to the train station to pick up the next train to continue my journey into Bulgaria. And I have found that Eastern Europeans are among the most welcoming people. It's very much like when I go to Muslim countries. When I go to Tehran, everybody come to dinner, come to dinner, come to dinner. In the East, I very much experience the same thing. My mother makes, you'll come to my house, you'll come here, you'll come here. And I've begun to have some of that in Spain as well, meeting people at the dog park. No, you will come, you will come, you will come. The difference is in Spain, you start with a cocktail at 9:30 and dinner served at 11.
Yes, yes, I love that.
Me too. 100%.
I have no
I'm a
problem
nighty
with it
person.
except the staying awake part.
Yeah. Oh well.
You're a morning person, Carl.
Yeah, he
I-
is. I'm a night owl, so it's perfect.
I am midnight to 8 typically, and that's because of the dog. He is midnight to 8. He goes to sleep at midnight and he is up at 8. And you keep your dog's hours.
I have a cat, as you all saw.
Yeah.
The cat keeps my hours.
Well, this guy, as Natasha knows, has completely taken over my life, and I'm fine with that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I
You
would
didn't
be
have
as
them
well.
yet when we saw each other, right? Last year.
No, I never wanted a dog.
Oh no, he was a cat person. He had 2 cats.
How did that happen?
They
I
died.
I was on my way to Paris, and my girlfriend Jasmine called me and said, "You have to walk a dog." And I didn't know what she was talking about. I knew I was going to take care of her cats. I was staying in her apartment. And it turns out she had agreed to rescue this dog whose mother had died. And but she'd agreed to do that knowing she was leaving town. So I get there and I've got this, not quite 3-year-old Boston Terrier relying on me for everything. Within 3 days, you could not separate us. It took a long time to make it official because I lived in the wrong city. The association wasn't willing. He was a trained service animal. There were a lot of hoops to go through, but ultimately he would not leave my side. So they had no choice but to give him to me and not try to assign him to someone else, because this dog had chosen me and I had to accept that. And I now am so happy. I adore this guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He is
I can
great.
see it from your facial expressions when you talk about him.
I thought Germany was the most dog-friendly city on earth, with water bowls outside of businesses, dog runs, dog parks, etc. Then I get to Spain and find out it's even more dog-friendly. So,
A lot of dog parks, definitely also.
oh man, Paris, not so dog-friendly. They're allowed in cafes and things, but they don't have many parks or places where dogs can run free.
Well, in that case, I am reminded of a message that I got following our last conversation about dogs from my friend Liz, who said, "Not so. Dogs are admitted in more places in England than you say." And I was reminded of a conversation I had with my mother-in-law,
England or Paris?
London.
Oh, London. Okay.
Remember, because last time on our first show, I said London isn't very England isn't very
Yeah.
dog friendly. Boy, did I get a telling off. Okay. And I'd like to take this back. It is not true, because I'm reminded of my mother-in-law, who goes to a shopping center called Brent Cross in North London. And she says it's impossible to go there now. Everybody has their dogs and they are allowed in every store. Who would bring their dog to a massive shopping center? I don't know. Probably not, because it's one of these huge indoor shopping centers with like John Lewis at one end and Phoenix at the other, and like 80 shops in the middle, and it's all indoors.
I would do
And
it. Sure.
yeah, what's happened is, of course, a lot more people are now having to pick up the mess left by the dogs.
Wait a
But
minute. The dogs are going indoors?
yes, in all the shops indoors.
Oh, that's horrible. They're not well trained.
Well, that's another issue. But so I was reminded both by Liz McGoldrick, my very good friend, our very good friend, and by my mother-in-law, that I had said a boo-boo, and that dogs are very it must have happened in the last few years since I moved to Germany, but by golly, apparently dogs are admitted everywhere now in England. Oh, well, not everywhere, but a lot more places than I thought. So I'd like to take that back and
Okay.
congratulate England on having
evolved. Now,
Absolutely.
Nojan, you never asked about animals in any of your interviews, did you?
No, Animals was not
Did it ever
never.
come up that you recall?
It never came up to me. It is the first time I'm actually thinking about
Absolutely. Add a question.
about the animal question. What do you think would be interesting there to know?
Well, for me, I would want to know, are landlords very good about allowing pets? And what about the local businesses, the restaurants, the cafes? How pet friendly are they? And parks. You know, in some parts of Paris, there are signs, no dogs in this particular park. You know, there's a place near Jasmine's where I can take Milo to run off leash, but it's 1/3, no, maybe 1/4 of the size of the dog run that's half a block from my house in Berlin.
Interesting that you say. Well, I never thought about the question because I never had animals myself. Not because I didn't want them, but in this
Yes.
household, animals were not like to be seen. So I had a goldfish once. So
Aha.
several times. It's a New Year's tradition, a Persian New Year's tradition to buy a goldfish at times. But yeah, maybe that's why it didn't cross my mind. Interesting one. But I just
Yeah.
know that Spain is very dog friendly. Germany is dog friendly. I have no idea about Czechia and about Amsterdam.
Well,
And
I could say that we went to Czechia with Cozy, and we stayed in a few hotels, and everywhere we stayed, Cozy came because
in the
that's-
hotels, they were allowed.
yeah. That's not an option. I mean, we're in London now, and you saw. I don't know where he is now. Oh, he's on the chair behind me. Yes. So, so we're staying here. I think so we're here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hotels in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
All of them here in England take cats.
Wow.
Yes.
You know how it works in Germany.
They then generally take pets.
They take pets.
Yes.
Cats are not as widely accepted as dogs.
I
do
was
know,
just going to say that.
traveling in the Czech Republic, I was changing trains back from Budapest, and I had a stop off in the Czech Republic, and I was just meeting a friend for lunch and then getting on the next train that would take me into Berlin. And I was in Praha. I get off the train, and a train worker comes running up to me with a plastic bowl of water for the dog.
Oh,
So she
Christ
saw
sake.
me walking off the train,
Cute.
and she wanted to make sure that he was drinking because it was July and it was hot. So she had water for him. She greeted him with that and just loved him all up. We went to a cafe, and they said that we had to sit outside because of the dog, but they brought him water as well. And they brought him a little plate with some chopped up beef on it, which is his favorite thing to eat. So they were incredibly friendly, but this was only a 4-hour stop. But everywhere I went, because it was July and it was not super hot, but it was, maybe 25 degrees, everybody brought him water. Everybody. From the train station to the cafe to the coffee shop, they all brought water for this guy to make sure he was taken care of. And then they asked me what I wanted.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I found the same in the Czech Republic. We went to the north part, what they call the Swiss part of Czechia. And Cozy went everywhere, all the restaurants. We even took a boat trip, and he was on the boat everywhere. Yes. We go everywhere with him, so we haven't been anywhere where he hasn't been accepted, because that wouldn't be on our list of places to go by definition.
So where are you headed to next? You're back in Berlin, and you've just finished Paris. And by the way, I don't just watch my videos, but that got me started on watching all of them. So
Okay.
whenever you post, I watch. I don't usually comment because you get far too many comments from far too many ignorant people, but I watch all of them now. I love it, and I
Wow.
love learning other people's experiences.
Really?
Oh yeah.
That sounds That makes my heart melt hearing this.
I love them.
Especially if my interviewees watch my videos. Yes, Natasha.
I'm so sorry, Nojan. I would like to take this opportunity to let you tell us where to watch your videos.
Yes. I always recommend watching them on YouTube because Instagram and TikTok is just little clips and they don't have the full extent of information. I use these platforms to make people aware of the channel, that it exists, but you see the full answers and also what many people say about the same topic on YouTube. So if you
Yeah.
type in the Movement Hub, this is the name of the channel, then you can find all these videos and they're all listed by topics. So if somebody maybe doesn't know how I structure all of this, I always ask the same questions with some adaptation, follow-up questions, of course, to see what they mean by specific things. But I want to have it to some form standardized.
So,
That's my approach.
so I'm looking now. Movement,
The Movement Hub.
the
The
movement, and
Oh,
then
Hub, HUB.
HUB, the movement hub, and
And there should be a white and black icon with a microphone in the middle. Let me see.
sorry.
It's not there. It's
that's
that one.
That's
Exactly.
it. Yep.
It is this
This
one.
one.
So
It's
this
that one.
is your channel.
Exactly.
That's for
Yeah.
everybody
Right.
to
And
let.
we can link to him when we put this interview on
We'll
YouTube.
of course link to
Yeah.
you when we put this in. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew where to go.
Exactly.
I like them on YouTube because it is a bigger format. The clips are fun and it's cute when they go viral. But in the larger format, you hear what a lot of people have to say and you get different perspectives. Where are you headed next?
Next, I'm headed to Natasha. I'm going to London probably next. But
When?
still, what do we-
Oh,
When?
around March, I would say this is the area because I think a lot of people sometimes don't know how much editing all of that is. This is
Oh, yeah.
so much work, I tell you guys. So for one 10-minute video that you see, although it's just interview, it's no crazy editing. But it takes a lot of time. So I'll be very busy now with editing stuff from Paris, also still editing some of the stuff of the other cities, especially Barcelona is not yet quite finished, and Czech Republic, there's also a little bit left, but mainly I'm focused on Paris. And I want to do this in March when it's a bit brighter outside, especially in London. Then I don't have that much time during one day to do interviews, right? If the day is only 6 hours long, then I only have 6 hours to do interviews. While if I have 10 hours, 9 hours, I can go from place to place because I also need to commute. So probably in March, I will go to London and do the interviews in London because in London is a very interesting place for a lot of people. I think I think within Europe, one of the places that are always mentioned first are Paris and London.
Paris, London, yes.
Very popular cities, maybe Berlin too, but I think Paris and London are still
The top
all right.
two, yeah.
I've got
top interesting
something
cities.
that I will suggest that you pursue because to me it's very interesting and I won't tell you why because I don't want to prejudice you in any way. But if you can find a recent Indian immigrant, someone who has come in the past 2 years, and compare their experience to someone who's been there 10 years or longer from India, I would love to see that. I think it would be fascinating.
Is there any specific aspect that you're particularly interested in? How and what they see differently?
Well, yes, in a sense, it has been my experience that once someone from India moves to London, within 5 to 10 years, they have become a Brit. I mean, they talk a mate, the accent changes, they don't really sound so Punjabi any longer. I mean, there's moments where it comes and goes, but they become incredibly British in 5 to 10 years. And the new people do not, and they feel isolated as a result of that.
Right.
Wow, we have a huge Indian community in London by definition.
Yeah.
I will keep this in mind. I will try to see if I can bring that comparison in there.
Go to
Definitely.
any restaurant and you can find somebody who's been there for, 2 years or less.
Yeah.
Because I know so many British people that are Indian, and they're, to me, the most open about welcoming everyone except other Indians.
Except other Indians.
Yeah, that's why the new community often feels a little bit isolated, because those who've been there longer see themselves as British and are super welcoming and engaged with Americans or Czechs or French people who come, but less welcoming to other people from India.
Okay.
I have
So
no
they
experience.
change identity during
They
time.
change identity. So I'd love to see what you experience as the contrast. They change identity. They become Brits. And I've seen that with some, not all, of the Turkish and Syrian refugees in Germany. They have become quite German. Many of them speak, better Deutsch als mir. Yeah, I'm, learning Spanish now, so that was hard. But they become very, very German. Maybe sometimes more German than the Germans in certain ways.
Oh yeah, the Turks in Berlin have absolutely assimilated and are as German.
Well, with the Turks, you also have to say that the Turks, most of the Turks are here for quite some generations.
Absolutely.
So most of them are now third generation Turks.
Absolutely.
And they probably detached now from them.
Well, yes, but I
Others
know
can-
several Turkish people who've come since I've lived there. And I remember one, Mustafa. And Mustafa wanted to meet me for coffee. And he'd been there maybe 3 weeks, and I met him on Berlin for Beginners. So I didn't know him before this. He wanted to meet people. He spoke English, Turkish, wanted to learn German. I met him for what we thought was a coffee, and he goes, I'm German now. I want to have my first beer. So he ordered a beer, an alcoholic beer, which one beer for someone who had never had alcohol before. I mean, they have alcohol in Turkey, but not much more in Istanbul than Antalya, which is where he was from. He had beer. And then next thing I know, he's trying pork because he's German now. And he really was celebrating the freedom to not live under any form of restriction. In Antalya, they're very observant, whereas in Istanbul, wine, beer, even pork can be had without a problem. But in Antalya, it's not the case. So he really, almost within 6 months, had become very, very German, embraced all of the freedoms that he felt he had. I have another friend I've known for years from Egypt, and he would not drink beer or touch pork. If you paid him $1 million, he would rather die with his honor intact. So different cultures take things on differently.
Well, I've saw it from another perspective. Now the Turkish people that came here recently, I don't know much, but from what I know from the Turks that I grew up with, they still don't touch pork usually.
Yeah,
They
that's
might
very true.
drink alcohol, probably, but pork is still something. But
Yeah,
I can imagine that.
still iffy, huh? Yeah.
Well,
And I think also in some of the views, the Turkish people that live here for a long time, I'm generalizing now, but are a bit more conservative in their political views also regarding Turkey. You'll see a lot of people who vote for Erdogan that live in Germany, while in Turkey maybe there's much more opposition. Here there's also a lot of opposition, but the percentage of people who vote for or are for Erdogan in Germany is quite high in the Turkish community. But still, they adapted here in Germany. They lived here for many generations, and well, I think this is also one thing about being Muslim and growing up in Germany, is you also have the feeling of needing to fit in. And when you grow up and everybody around you drinks alcohol, or people go on parties and do all of this stuff, and you say, no, I'm not doing this. It's easier to say I don't eat pork. You can replace it easily, but you can't replace drinking and having that sort of fun, you know, by being
Right.
part
Pork
of
is
the.
probably the easiest one, although, you know, even I do eat pork. I'm not any religion, you know, even though I grew up with many of them. I I'm in Spain now, and if you don't eat ham in Spain, you just don't exist.
Indeed. And despite the last name, I don't have a religion either. So, but um, I when I was 15, we moved to California. And as you know, the drinking age in California is 21. So, of course, if you are 15, 16, the one thing you try to do above all is drink alcohol. And I was French, I was 15, and I moved to San Diego, California. So I was immediately invited to all the beach parties and everything. And I was automatically the designated driver because in France, I didn't have that 21 nonsense. Alcohol was something I knew and something I knew I didn't like. So when everybody brought one of their parents' vodka bottles or managed to have their older sister or brother buy them a 6-pack of beer, they always made sure to bring some fizzy drink, usually Coca-Cola, for me, because I wasn't going to drink any alcohol because I knew I didn't like it. Boy, have things changed. But back in the days, I was stupid and, well, I wasn't, but I knew I didn't like alcohol and I knew I wasn't going to drink it. So you also have to have a strength of character.
So Natasha, would you say that if you're not allowed to do something by law at a specific age, does it draw you more towards it?
So much
Yeah.
more. There are no words to describe it.
When you say this, I instantly thought about the coffee shop culture in the Netherlands. I think it's
Oh, yeah.
everywhere. It's famous that the Netherlands was one of the first countries, maybe the first. I mean, was the world famous country for legalizing marijuana. And but go to the Netherlands, go to Amsterdam, go speak to people culturally. They're much more against it than, for example, here in Germany. Here in Germany, I get the feeling in the youth, the consumption of cannabis is much, much, much higher than in Amsterdam. And I think because they didn't make it a taboo, they made it an open thing. It's okay. You can do it when you're 18. It's better to do it when you're 18. There's not this thing of, oh, it's something illegal. It's something I'm not allowed to do. I need to do this, and you can go to a dealer and get it. So I think on that level for the youth, they did well in the Netherlands. So, and I see this parallel now with what you're saying with the drinking in
Well,
the US.
Not talking about legal ages or anything, one obvious example is the American Prohibition.
Mhm.
The minute it was illegal to drink, that's when every American would have done anything for a drink. And they did do just about anything. And people like Al Capone were so happy about prohibition because that's how they made their money. That's how, all these things. So yeah, prohibition was great idea, guys, right up there. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing with being 21. You can get married, you can have children, you can die for your country and as a service person, but you can't have a glass of champagne to celebrate all that.
Yeah, it's never made any particular sense to me.
No, it hasn't.
Germany may change now that marijuana is legal-ish. They have, I guess you have to join clubs now and you can buy it.
I don't know, something like this, but
I'm
you
also
can
not
grow
sure.
it. You can grow it for
Well,
your own consumption.
In Spain, they have the same clubs, but the clubs are just stores, and you pay a membership fee. of like €5, and then you're a member and you buy from the store.
Wow.
So the clubs have become just a commercial enterprise. I had to go see one because I'm new in town. I have to see everything. I'm not done with Berlin, Nojan. I'll be back in the spring, but I needed to work, and this is how I'm doing it.
Now, I still remember what you told me during the interview, that you like to leave Berlin during the winters. So I instantly thought,
Yeah.
now you've done the same.
Well, I had never until that winter that we did that interview. That was my first winter in Berlin, because I had worked with Secret Food Tours, and I would be in Hong Kong and Thailand, and I might see 2 weeks of winter. I never saw a whole winter. And after that entire winter, it's like, I'm done. I'm done with winter here. I hate snow more than anything, and I think it snowed 3 times. I can stand cold, I can stand gray, I can stand early darkness, but snow kills me. I hate it. I hate it.
And cold. You hate
I hate
cold.
the cold, but the cold doesn't make me want to never leave my apartment. The snow does. We were doing our show in Berlin from the studio. It was cold.
It was unheated, yes.
I was there every week in the cold, but the week it snowed, I was like, oh my God, how can I stand this? But I wear electric socks around the house. I don't do well with cold at all. It's only, I don't know what it is here. Maybe 17, 16 today, but it's dark and cloudy, so I'm cold. I have electric socks on right now, Natasha.
In Sevilla.
Yes, exactly.
Well, the floors are marble where I'm staying, and with marble floors, my feet get cold. And Natasha gave me for Christmas last year a pair of electric socks, and those things have gotten. I use them as slippers. I charge the battery. I put them on. It works for about 7 hours. They're the most incredible things on earth.
I can imagine. Yesterday, before I had my flight back to Berlin, I was thinking, okay, this might be the last rays of sunshine that I might be seeing this year. Good that I was proven wrong. But I went up on the terrace of the apartment. We have a shared terrace with the other tenants. I could take out my t-shirt and sit there in the sun, and I was warm. And it's the best feeling, being able to do this in winter.
Yeah.
100%.
On the days it's warm, when we go to, we're just a few minutes from the river where I'm staying now, although I'm moving January 1st. We can walk there in 5 minutes, and the sun, when it's shining off the river, it feels so wonderful. So I only wear 1 coat, not 2 on those days.
Yeah, that's how much he likes the cold.
I'm a heat-seeking missile. But I love Berlin in the summertime. And in the wintertime, I may have mentioned this in an interview, I don't know. It's the sauna at Holmes Place Health Club that keeps me going. I go and it takes me a good 40 minutes to perspire. They say you need to spend 15 minutes. Other people are drenched with perspiration. 45 minutes later, I've got a bead on my forehead. I'm part lizard. I'm sure of this.
Yeah, fair enough. I believe that. Yeah.
So now that you've experienced all of these cultures, Nojan, and talked to all of these people all over the world, if you were going to live in one of these cities permanently, including the one you're in now, which one would it be and why?
Well, I think I didn't discover enough cities yet to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
From the cities I've had interviews in so far, for me, it's definitely Barcelona.
Oh.
However, between Amsterdam, Berlin, Prague, Barcelona, was another one.
Paris.
Sorry, it's just so recent. Yeah. From all those cities, I would prefer Barcelona. I think Barcelona has the perfect size of a city. Me coming from Berlin, I think I need this city. However, I don't necessarily need 3.5 million inhabitants. I don't use all of that. I don't use all of the city. Barcelona is a big city in a bit of a more compact form. And you have the sun, which I like. You have this culture of being late in the streets, of having life in there's life on the streets. You see now in winter, where it's cold, obviously it's cold in Barcelona too, not as cold as in Berlin, but people are sitting in the night in front of terraces, drinking, speaking, laughing. So I love this aspect of being there. And however, some people, because I'm a psychologist and I teach and I do stuff online, my income, my primary income is not dependent on the Spanish market, which I think a lot of people also hate in Spain. People like me who will have which I can understand, because the economic situation in Spain is not good. People don't earn as much. You will have people who have doctorate degrees and earn 1,500 euros a month with a PhD, or with their masters and all of that, or less. Like I know people with master's degrees who earn 1,200 euros netto, and that sometimes you need 900 euros for the rent if you live by yourself. So keeping that in mind. So if I would be working for the local market, it would be very, very, very difficult in Barcelona to do this. But yeah, for so far, I think I found my place for the next years, maybe for longer. I don't know yet, but Barcelona is, I enjoy it the most.
Really?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love Barcelona.
Yeah.
Do you know, of all the Spanish cities, Barcelona is my least favorite.
Okay, how come?
It just feels like there's too much going on. Here, yeah, there's plenty of life in the streets. There's people everywhere having tapa, etc. But I get to know people very easily, and because of the little guy by my side, everyone learns his name. I go walking down the street. Oh, hola Milo, hola Carl, hola Milo, hola Carl. In Barcelona, I don't think I would have that sense of community. It was very easy here. I've been to Barcelona several times for work, and I always found it challenging. And you need public transit for just about everything because it is a larger place. Here, I walk literally everywhere. I haven't been on a bus or a train or a metro once. We can walk an hour and 40 minutes, and it feels like nothing here.
Yeah. Also, I think there might also a cultural aspect playing a role in there. Because from the interviews that I've had, people would describe Catalonia, where Barcelona is the capital of, as some people say the Germans of the Spanish, or the French of the Spanish, but a bit more diplomatic in their approach. While they say in the south of Spain, you have these more of the Spanish stereotypes of being warm, open, you make a lot of friends, and it's a bit more community-based. While Catalonians, you don't find that many in Barcelona, because they live more around Barcelona and other cities, because Barcelona has a lot, it's an international city, has also a lot of people who came from the south of Spain during the past years, 50 more years, or from other parts of Spain. But if you go to around Catalonia, it has more of this element that you have in Germany, that people stick to their childhood friends a lot, and are less like, hey, let's meet for a coffee spontaneously with someone they don't know. So this might also play a role, and also, of course, the size of the city, like you mentioned. Yeah, but I thrive in places like this. I love it. I love having to take the metro, and I love going outside and having a lot of people around.
And what a metro it is in Barcelona.
It is good, yeah.
Oh my, it is amazing. The space in there, the cleanliness, I was awed, I mean, at the time I was coming from Paris, and you go from Paris metro to Barcelona metro, it's like, okay, well, this can't be a metro. It has to be, it's something else, because it's really, saying that again, I need to apologize to the Parisians because my sister, the other one this time, that my little sister who lives in New York, just sent me a text yesterday because she took the metro in Paris to go back home, and she lives in New York, and she said how amazing it is to take a metro in Paris, which was clean, where the people were friendly, where the people were respectful. And I wrote back and I said, sarcasm? And she says, oh, really not. You should see the ones. She said, a couple of little old ladies got on the metro and everybody got up to give them a seat, and they were embarrassed because they were only in there for a couple of stations and they wanted to stand up, and they felt they had to sit down because like 8 people got up to give them seats. She said that would never happen in New York. And so before I say anything disparaging about Paris metros, I would like to point out that my little sister told me they were great.
You know,
But
I
not-
have to agree with your little sister coming from the US. The New York is a filthy rat hole. I mean, to not see rats running across your feet waiting for the subway would make that an unusual day. It is so filthy. It is so disgusting. There's so much crime. And that was 10 years ago. And from what I hear, it's gotten worse. There have been 200 subway murders so far this year.
Oh, that's nice.
200 people murdered. Strangers murdering strangers, just stabbing them or shooting them or whatever it is. So 200. That didn't happen when I was there, but it was still filthy.
It's like one every other day, more than
Yeah.
one every other day. Yeah.
More than one every other day, one every third day, or I
No.
don't know.
So do you have a strange feeling if you would go into the New York Metro and commute there?
I never felt good about it. I took it because I had no alternatives. Then when I moved to California and came back to New York, I had a car. I drove myself back and I kept the car. I found a place in Harlem that had parking, and I started driving in Manhattan because the subway had gotten so horrible that it just made me uncomfortable to be on it. And all of my friends say it's so much worse now than it was then. So Paris compared to New York is amazing. Germany compared to Paris is amazing. I mean, most of Europe has good public transit compared to the US.
But Berlin is outstanding. I mean, we arrived back from London. We parked the car down at the bottom. We use it once, twice a month, and that's it. We have a choice of, we're 300 meters from a U-Bahn and 300 meters from an S-Bahn. So depending where we have to go in Berlin, you know, even me with my bad leg, I can get to anywhere because, you know, I can handle 300 meters.
You know where the best metro on earth is based on all of my travels throughout the years? Make a guess.
Tokyo, Singapore.
I've been to
China.
Tokyo and I've been to Singapore. Both were great.
China.
China, mixed, depending on what part of China you're in. The most beautiful, well-kept, clean, polite, on-time, constantly metro was Moscow.
Moscow.
Oh,
Okay.
And every metro stop looks like a museum. They're gorgeous. I never saw anyone spit out gum. I never saw food waste. I was limping a little bit because my trip to Moscow, when I moved to Berlin initially, I was still on crutches after having an anterior prosthetic put in my foot because a car crushed my bones. I mean, you wouldn't know it now. I run around everywhere, but I was still limping a little when I got to Moscow. Young men and women, the kind that you expect to be staring at their phones, jumped up to help me sit down just because I had a very minor limp. I could stand, I was fine with it, but the good manners, the cleanliness, I've never experienced anything like it.
well, there we go.
I was very surprised, and this was true in society in general, of the good manners of the young people everywhere. Good manners. I don't know what their parents do to them, if they beat them with horse whips or something, but they were some of the most polite and considerate, whether it was a waitress in a restaurant or the person next to you in a coffee shop. I was very impressed with Moscow.
Now coming back to the US,
Yeah.
the metro systems. Like there's this argument, obviously, that Europe is more densely populated than the US.
Well,
So
not than New York, I'll tell you that
Not
much.
New York,
not that New
not
York,
Boston,
but
not
if you look at
Philadelphia,
the whole,
Chicago. Yeah.
if you look at the whole continent or part of the continent, which is US of North America, well, USA is much less densely populated. And this is might be a reason why there's not that many train systems, right? I think the train system in the US is
It's
not that
ridiculous. It's
well
nothing.
developed.
There's
If you look at it 200 years ago, the train system was excellent. It's gone
Okay.
downhill. 200 years ago was better.
Yeah. Well, how would you say it is then? Because this argument cannot be applied to big cities, you know, like obviously New York or like LA or Houston, whatever. I still hear that, for example, in LA, the public transportation system is not that built.
It's pretty
And I
horrible.
think also in some other cities too, not New York. I think New York is exceptionally well compared to US standards. But why do you think that is? That you don't
I
have
know
that much
everybody
public
drives in
transportation?
California. I mean, I used to drive 100 miles a day between getting up, going to uni, coming back home, then going to work, and then coming back home. That was 100 miles a
Right,
day,
right.
you know.
The reason I got a car in California when I was in San Francisco for the second time is because the public transportation system was awful. I was out in the avenues, which is, you know, not the center of the city, but not terribly far. San Francisco is a small, very densely populated town. And I wanted to take a bus to where I was working. I was working as a chef at the time. And the bus took an hour and 35 minutes. It just wandered all over town, stopping every other block. And when I got wheels, about a month after arriving there, my commute time was 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It was an
So
hour and 15 by bus or 10 minutes. The public transportation in San Francisco is some of the worst in the world. When they designed their subway system, they didn't design it to connect the city. They designed it to connect people to places in the city and the suburbs. So if you live in Walnut Creek, you can go downtown, but then you can't go anywhere else in the city. You get off on Montgomery Street or 16th, that's where you are. You want to go anywhere else in the city, you can't do that. So it's like they don't even think when they design these things. And now
yeah,
every
you
time-
shrunk. Yeah.
yeah, when the dog moves, I have to move. I mean, he rules my world. So that's just the way it
Do you
is.
think if now magically some cities of the US have an excellent transport system, do you think people would use it significantly much more, or is there still like a cultural aspect of
There's a
wanting to
cultural
drive?
aspect. I think it would take an entire generation.
It would take some
for people.
time. Yeah.
It would
I
take
mean,
time.
for people who say, how could she drive 100 miles a day? I lived in La Jolla. I went to school at San Diego State University. I came back to La Jolla, and then I went to work in Mission Valley, and then came back to La Jolla. So calculate that. It makes 100 miles, you know. And that's provided I didn't go anywhere else, of course, you know. So, and it would have been impossible, literally impossible for me to take any transport system in the 1980s to go from La Jolla to San Diego State University. It would have taken hours if it was possible.
When I was 16 years old, I was in San Diego and I wanted to go to the zoo. And I was in Santee with my foster. I called her my grandmother, but my mother essentially parked me for a couple of years of my life with a neighbor when I was a baby. She was having a lot of issues, and it worked to have Grandma Eeks take care of me. Went to visit her. I wanted to go to the zoo. From Santee to the zoo was a 2-hour bus ride. Again, one of these buses that goes literally everywhere. I found someone at the zoo that I knew from Santee, and they offered me a ride back, 15 minutes. So the problem is bad design when there is bus routes and other public transportation in the US. They try to make a bus cover every region and go everywhere to get people to a specific donation. destination rather than making it convenient. All right, I'm in La Jolla. I want to go here. I'm in Santee. I want to go here. It's just not extensive enough to work for people. So it would take an entire generation to get people used to taking public transportation.
Yeah.
It's like in Germany, so many people in the East don't have a television even today because, during the Soviet era, it was all propaganda. A lot of people got rid of their TVs. They raised their kids without TV, who raised their kids without TV, who raised their kids without TV. Now with streaming, more people are watching things, but they still haven't bought that big wall thing. They might watch something on their computer, but East Berlin is not very much a TV culture. But in Western Berlin, I read that something like 85% of households have a television.
Only 85?
That's what I read. Maybe it's more, but
Well,
Thinking about nowadays.
yeah, but
Okay.
we grew up without a television. My father hated that, and he rented one when they went to the moon. And then they came and picked it up in the middle of my favorite program, which at the time was Skippy the Kangaroo. Okay.
oh yeah, that would
Yeah.
be my favorite too.
Yeah,
I-
exactly.
The
And
only TV
that
I
was
watched
it.
I got the Carol Burnett show every Saturday night with my mother.
Yeah,
That was my TV. That was
but as a result, I became addicted to television, but neither one of my sisters had a television until streaming came along. And now they only watch streaming. They never watch television.
That's what was my initial thought when you were asking only 85%. I was
Yeah.
thinking you can YouTube, Netflix. You don't
Yeah.
need a TV nowadays.
Yeah, my sister said when she's sick, she takes her laptop, put it on her laps, and watches television there.
Well, I don't have a television, but I do have
Project-
a
a
projector.
projector.
And so if there's something I want to watch, I can watch it on the big screen, and it's really wonderful. I didn't actually bring it here, so I haven't watched much, but an occasional episode of Bewitched because I have the DVD. But Seville doesn't lend itself to being home in the evenings. It lends itself to being out in the streets.
Yes, absolutely. Well, in Croatia, we don't have siesta time, but it's also nightlife. I was talking to my sister, the eldest one, about Zagreb, for instance, and she'll be going there soon. My dad's buried there, as are my grandparents. They're all buried together. But they've even made some of the streets one direction so that half of the street can be occupied by cafe terraces. So they've literally put a wall in the middle of the street. And so it's only one way because the other lane is tables and chairs.
I like that.
It is
Now,
wonderful.
I have another question for Nojan, and this is something that came via LinkedIn when I announced he was going to be a guest this morning. Someone else who watches your clips, not the videos on YouTube, and maybe she'll change, but she's seen a number of the clips. The question is, she's suffering, like most of the U.S., from Trump derangement syndrome, and looking at leaving the U.S. as a result of this. She wants to know what country would be the easiest to immigrate to as an American.
Good question.
Good question. I might not be having the perfect answer for this because bureaucracy also plays a role, which I'm not familiar with, but there's a few factors that you need to consider, which depends on what she's trying to do. I mean, if she really wants, she can have if she likes, she can have a consultation talk with me to really speak about what are some things that she's looking for, because it's a difficult question. The reason why I'm doing these interviews and asking so many different aspects is that everyone has a different priority, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody likes to live in cold climates, somebody doesn't like to live in cold climates, somebody places an emphasis of a culture which is like this, somebody another culture, somebody wants to have the possibility of earn a lot of money, but still is is okay with some challenges, with finding housing, with finding this and all of that other stuff. So this is a very individual question, I would say, which I can't generally answer like that. If she likes to work, I might think that in Prague you do have a lot of opportunities. It's getting much more international. It's a lot of companies open their headquarters there, but being aware that you, with a salary, with a Czech salary, you be able to easily live there in the country if you have some education. But transferring that money to other countries, it might not be as smart. So, for example, if you want to travel with that money, it might not be the best. If you have a income from the US, then it really is about personal preferences. Then it's really about what culture do you like, what climate do you like, and these kind of stuff. And this is again a personal preference. Does she like this German style more, or does she like the Spanish style more? Even I would go, if I would have the option, I might be wanting to live in Mexico. I love it there.
So I.
So it really depends on
So do
the
I.
current situation and the things that she's looking for. So I can either recommend to watch some of the long format videos of the cities that are interesting about the topics that are interesting to her, or to write me a message and we can talk about it, make a consultation about that. But it's a difficult question to answer.
Well, that
general.
Mexico is interesting because what would be the city in Mexico that you would choose?
I think I would like to live in Mexico City. It's a bit.
It's huge. It's bigger than Berlin.
It's huge. It's huge. Mexico City is crazy.
I love it.
But I love
Yes,
it.
I love Mexico City indeed. Yes.
I
Yeah.
think it's beautiful and warm and welcoming and friendly with great food. I spent a
Absolutely.
month there working for a hotel, fixing their food and beverage department, and I just adored everything about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there are pockets of Mexico City. I mean, there, like every large city, there are pockets that are not that good, but there are so many more pockets that are so open, friendly, fun. Yeah, I love Mexico City.
I remember my first meal out. I met somebody. I didn't know him terribly well. He used to work for the tour company that I worked for. And we went out and we went, to 3 different restaurants, and we had tacos at one and something else at another and something else at another. And each one got a glass of Mexican wine because there's some very good wine made in Mexico. And I realized that I had spent less than $5 US. It was really a deal, Oh, now I'm thinking Mexico City next winter.
I so agree with you. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go together. I would love to as well.
I start formal Spanish classes on the 7th of January, where I'll be in immersion class every day for 3.5 hours for 4 months. So I think I can get my Spanish beyond copa de tinto Rioja Crianza. I think I can improve.
Just to come back to your previous question, something general, because I think work is an important topic for someone who is not retired and wants to live in a place. Therefore, I think Amsterdam has amazing work opportunities, especially for young people who want to kickstart their career. However, one needs to be aware that it's not going to be easy. I mean, we know everywhere people say, and especially in the big cities, in the capitals, that we have a housing problem. Yes.
Yeah. And
Amsterdam is on another level. Amsterdam is like a lot of people from Amsterdam who are not living in Amsterdam anymore because they can't live there because it's too expensive. They go to other smaller places, commute. The whole country has a housing problem. Even in smaller places, there are no places available. So I've had students who were coming all the way from the south of the Netherlands to the north and had to commute every day for like 3-4 hours and go back again because they couldn't find housing and needed to stay at their parents' house. So doing this every day for university, that's crazy. But and it's expensive. But still, there are a lot of big companies that pay very well, and you can kickstart a career in Amsterdam if you play your cards right, but it comes with difficulties. Prague has more of the balance of it. I think Paris is too, but Paris seems to have crystallized as a very good city for artists. Although this is also true for Berlin and was even much more true a decade or more ago. But Paris artists are doing really well in Paris, from what I've seen so far. And Barcelona, if you just want to have a nice life and you already have an income from somewhere else or another place in Spain.
We have reached the end of our time. So
And I would
we
like
need
to
to say goodbye.
remind everybody before we say goodbye that we are on Free Range Radio Expat. You will recognize a lovely picture of Carl. That is Facebook, and that will tell us where else you can see us.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody, and thank you for watching and listening.
Good night, everybody. And thank you, Natasha and Carl, for having me.
You're more
It
than
was
welcome.
a big pleasure.